How's everybody doing? My name is Christopher Brown, and you're now listening to my podcast, Sports Talk with Chris, and this is episode 24. Before I dive into this list, I just want to give out some honorable mentions to some players that did not make this list, but I feel like are still going to have great years. First player I'm going to talk about is Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders had an amazing rookie year last year. Some can argue he was the best rookie running back, 8th in the league in all-purpose yards and 6 touchdowns. With Jordan Howard leaving in free agency, Miles Sanders is the main back on the roster, so he's going to get a ton of more carries this upcoming season. Don't be surprised if he rushes for close to 1,000 yards and he's top 5 in all-purpose yards, as he is a major receiving threat coming out of the backfield. Todd Gurley, next player I'm going to talk about, still one of my favorite running backs in the league. He had one down year, People are saying his career is over. Now, yes, last year was arguably his worst year in the league. Only had 1,064 yards from scrimmage and 14 touchdowns. But that was due mainly to his usage being scaled down by head coach Sean McVay. With all the work he put in this offseason, trying to get healthy, trying to get in the tip-top shape, the tip-top of his ability. And for him going into a new team in Atlanta Falcons, where he's having a fresh start, this upcoming season, he's going to have his bounce-back year. I'm not too sure what the numbers are going to be like, but I know it's going to be way better than last year. Next player I want to talk about, Mark Ingram. He again will rush over 1,000 yards this year, as the Ravens have one of the best running attacks and one of the best offensive lines in this league. Next, I want to talk about the Colts tandem at running backs. Marlon Mack, and they drafted Jonathan Taylor. Now, Marlon Mack was already over 1,000-yard plus rusher in the NFL. I think he had, 1,200 rushing yards last year, only playing 14 games? Then you add Jonathan Taylor, another pure running back, has all the tools to be a great running back in this league, running behind the best offensive line in this league. Now, I don't know what the carries are going to be split into. I don't know who's going to get more, who's going to get less, but I know together they're going to be unstoppable. Together, they might lead the league in rushing yards for a whole team. Definitely over 1,000 in my opinion. I think they're going to have a better rushing attack than the Baltimore Ravens. And lastly, the Denver Broncos running attack. Come on now, you just signed Melvin Gordon. You already have Phillip Lindsay. They might eclipse 2,000 rushing yards. I don't think they're going to be as good as the Colts, because the O-line in the Colts is better. But man, you're talking about 2 running backs that can run the ball in a high level, 2 number 1 running backs on the same team, be one of the best rushing attacks, but one of the best rushing offenses in this league. It's going to be scary. Now, I don't know, again, how they're going to split their carries, who's going to get more, who's going to get less, who's going to play in what down. But I do know together it's going to be a matchup nightmare for all teams going against the Colts or the Broncos. What you going to do when you got 2 running backs that can rush for 100 yards a game on both teams? What you going to do? It's going to be hard to stop. So I'm excited to see how both teams are going to perform. At number 1, I have Christian McCaffrey. He might be the most talented running back in the league. Last year, he had 2,392 yards from scrimmage and 19 total touchdowns. Not only is he an elite running back, but he's by far the best receiving back in the league with over 1,000 yards in both categories. When it comes to rushing, he was 3rd in the league in total yards, 4th in yards per game, and 3rd in rushing touchdowns. The crazy thing is he's only getting better. In the offseason, the Panthers added Russell Okung, who will help their offensive line. In my opinion, this is just the beginning for him. I feel like he's going to have an even better year this year, and the Panthers feel the same way as they made him the highest paid running back in the league. Number 2, I have Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry had his breakout year last year. He led the league in rushing yards per game, yards per attempt, with running backs with over 200 rushing attempts, and he was tied for first in touchdowns while missing the game towards the end of the season. Derrick Henry is a tank. 6'3", over 245 pounds. He's built like a freaking linebacker. He has crazy size, deceptive speed, quickness, power, footwork. He really has all the tools to be a dominant running back for a long time. Going into this season, he will be healthy and ready to prove to everyone that he's one of the best running backs in the league. He has the luxury running behind, in my opinion, a top 10 offensive line, which is a great thing to have when you're a running back. The offense the Titan has is obviously a run-first scheme, but they do have some nice young receivers that have gotten better, and with the contract that they just gave their quarterback, I won't be surprised if they try to throw more. Now, would that hurt Henry? No, because teams will start respecting their passing offense and not load the box as much, but that will mean the running game is going to be open more. Look for Henry to have the same type of production he had last year, if not better, He's looking to be the best running back in the league this year. He has a chip on his shoulder. At number 3, I have Zeke. I don't know why people think Zeke fell off. He is still one of the best running backs in this league. Last year, he was 4th in rushing yards, 5th in touchdowns, and 5th in rushing yards per game. People think Zeke fell off because his numbers might have slightly decreased. You're wrong. It's just the fact that Dallas became much more of a passing offense, but all that passing never led to any wins. He's still one of the best running backs in this league, and he's running behind the top 10 offensive line in this league. When the Dallas Cowboys was actually winning games and actually a threat to do something, it was when Zeke was the main option on offense and Zeke was getting a ton of carries. And with that, he was always leading the league when it comes to rushing yards per game, yards per attempt. If the Cowboys want to start winning again, they got to feed Zeke. And I see them doing that this year. So look for him to have a way better year than last year and to shut everybody up to think that he fell off. At number 4, I have Nick Chubb. Nick is ranked the most elusive running back in the NFL by Pro Football Focus. Last year, he was 2nd in the league in rush yards with 1,494, led the league in rushes over 20-plus yards, and he rushed for 8 touchdowns. He had such a major improvement last year from his rookie year because he did not have to share carries with anybody. Last year, he was the main back and most productive player on the Browns, and it will be the same thing this year. Whether or not Baker improves from last year won't affect Chubb numbers because he'll get the same amount of touches regardless. And if Baker's doing bad, they're just going to run the ball more. If Baker's doing good and if passing offense is better, it's just going to open up the running game more. So Nick Chubb is going to get his numbers regardless. At number 5, I have Saquon Barkley. Now, in the 13 games he did play in last year, he rushed for over 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns. Saquon is going to get a ton of touches this year as he's the best player on that team. Daniel Jones is in his 2nd year in the league and he's still improving, so he will rely on Saquon to be his fail-safe. I think in this upcoming season is going to be between Saquon and McCaffrey, who will lead the league in total yards per scrimmage. Saquon has hands of a receiver, one of the most elusive running backs in this league, one of the most strongest and athletic running backs in this league. He has all the tools to be not only a dominant running back, but a dominant threat to come out the backfield. The only thing about it is, he has had terrible offensive line. The bottom 10 in the league. He's a great player, but the reason why I really can't put him high on this list is because the teammates around him. Everybody else above him has a way better offensive line, so their running game is going to be better. With Saquon, there's going to be a lot of times where he's tackled in the backfield because the offensive line is so bad. At number 6, I have Chris Carson. Chris Carson, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated backs in this league. He has been one of the best backs in this league for at least the past couple of years now. Been, at the top for rushing yards, at the top for yards per attempt, at the top for yards per game. All the major running back categories for the past couple of years, Chris Carson's been at least in the top 5. Before he suffered an injury last season, he rushed for 1,230 yards and 7 touchdowns. The Seahawks have finally been making upgrades to their offensive line. They used to be one of the worst offensive lines in the league, and they're slowly getting better. Even though they're not top 15, they still have a dominant running game and a dominant running team is what they are. So Chris Carson is going to have the same type of production he had for the past couple of years. If not, it's going to get even better now the Seahawks passing game has gone better. Their passing game is going to open up the running game. Teams aren't going to be loading up the box all the time. Teams aren't going to be expecting a run play every single play. So when they do run the ball, it's going to be more open, which leads to more yards for Chris Carson, which leads to a better year for Chris Carson, which leads to people finally putting respect on his name as one of the top running backs in this league. At number 7, I have Josh Jacobs. Now, his rookie year last season, he rushed for 1,150 yards and 7 touchdowns, which led all rookies, and he was 3rd in the entire league when it comes to rushing yards per game. He did that in the 13 games he played last year. I would not be surprised if his stats next year are about 1,400 rushing yards and 10 touchdowns, and he's running behind one of the top O-lines in this league. He's already a shifty running back, as Pro Football Focus ranked him the 2nd most elusive running back in the league. When it came to missed tackles forced per touch, his mark of .30 led the way by a wide margin. Josh coupled that with a 3.5 yards after contact per rush and 9.6 yards after the catch per reception, and limited usage as a receiver coming out the backfield. That's something that the Raiders are going to take advantage of next season, getting Josh more involved in the offense. He has the ability to make people miss. He can be on the field on all 3 downs. He's going to have a great sophomore year as a running back next year. Coupling that with the, I don't know what the Raiders are going to do on offense. I don't know if John Gruden's going to trade away Derek Carr. I don't know what their wide receivers is looking like. They got a new young wide receiver. They got Darren Waller, yes. But in my opinion, the most consistent player that's going to be on that offense it's going to be Josh Jacobs. He's going to be the MVP of the offense next year. At number 8, I have Leonard Fournette. Now, last year he was top 7 in total rushing yards, but only had 3 touchdowns. Fournette is playing with a team that has no other weapons besides him, so he's going to have a ton of rushing attempts this year, and at least 700 total yards from scrimmage. Hopefully this year he proves why he's still one of the top running backs in this league, man. I feel bad for Leonard Fournette. All the players from that 2017 AFC Championship team, it's gone. He's by himself. A new young quarterback, no wide receivers around him. Terrible offensive line. Defense is not the same as it was, that year they was the best defense in the league. He's by himself. He's going to have to do everything in order for that team to win. So he's going to have a lot of rushing attempts this year. I would not be surprised if he's top 4, top 3, top 2 when it comes to attempts, because he's the only weapon that offense has. And since they didn't sign him for his 5th-year option, they're probably just going to run him in the ground. So he's going to be productive if he stays smart and he stays healthy. Hopefully he can prove that he's the top running back in his league, man. He has the talent. He has the size. He showed in college how nice he was. He just has to, show the NFL that he's still that type of running back. Now, number 9, I have Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon is probably playing on the worst team in the NFL. And I'm sorry, but Joe Burrow is not going to change that in one season. He will produce, Joe Mixon. Last year was 9th in rushing yards in the league, and he will again have over 270 rushing attempts because a young QB and not a lot of receivers mean more running plays. So Joe Mixon is going to get the attempts. He's going to get the yards. I just feel bad for him that he's playing on such a sorry team. Doesn't have a great O-line, so he's going to struggle at times, but he's going to produce. Shifty, fast, has all the tools to be a good running back. By the time he gets a good offensive line, he might move into the top 5, in my opinion. He's that good. Just the players around him, his team, is not good at all. Now at number 10, the last player on this list, I have Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is one of the most complete running backs in this league. He was top 10 in all-purpose yards this year and number 1 in total touchdowns. He rushed for 16, caught 3. The Packers are now turned into a running team as they only have one good wide receiver. No tight ends, just one good wide receiver. So this year, Aaron Jones is going to see a lot of rushing attempts, probably more than last year. He's also still going to be used heavily in the passing game. I see him being number 1 in total touchdowns this year, at least 20. And he's going to be top 10 again in all-purpose yards. Might move up to top 5. Thank you all for listening. If you agree with my list, if you don't agree with my list, let me know. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at sportsw_Chris. sportsw_Chris. Again, thank you all for listening and stay tuned for future episodes.